News 25 is brought to you by Bees Embroidery and Garment Printing, specializing in custom and personalized decoration of gifts, garments, and more. Call 775-727-9444. News is also brought to you by J.K. Nelson Law. Call 727-9900 today for your free consultation. If you need a lawyer, you need Nelson.
Governor Sisolak lays groundwork for reopening, and the VA hospital releases their first patient. News 25 starts now.
This is News 25 with Deanna O'Donnell. News 25. Local coverage you can count on.
Schools across the state are closed for the rest of this school year. It's Wednesday, April 22nd. I'm Deanna O'Donnell. Well, school districts across the state are now scrambling to decide how to handle graduation ceremonies this year. This after Governor Steve Sisolak announced Tuesday that schools will remain closed for the remainder of the academic year.
In alignment with the federal government criteria and after extensive discussions with Superintendent Ebert, I've made the difficult decision to continue educating our students through distance learning for the rest of this school year. We will continue our efforts to support teachers, staff, students, and families throughout the rest of this academic year, and I'm grateful to Superintendent Ebert's ongoing leadership and in coordination with our superintendents to provide innovative resources for our students, educators, and families, as well as working through the very challenging issues including graduations for our seniors.
I know these are very difficult times for our students, our families, as well as for our educators and our staff. I want to note that while our students will not be returning to school buildings, the school year is not yet over. This announcement encourages us to double down on our efforts, strengthening our delivery of distance education and promote equitable access to resources for all of our learners. We can all be proud of the ways our districts and schools have continued to serve our students, not only through distance education, but by also ensuring that our students have access to food services, as well as the much needed social and emotional support. Unfortunately, due to the COVID-19, the graduating class of 2020 will have to shift many of their celebrations and milestones that they have been looking forward to throughout their entire high school career. What we have done is put policies in place to ensure that students will be able to graduate on time. And we trust our local leaders to find creative ways to celebrate our students in a safe and appropriate manner.
Well, during his address Tuesday afternoon, the governor also outlined how the state will eventually reopen. He described a phased approach to reopening government and businesses. But while Nevada is seeing some encouraging news about the COVID-19 situation here, the governor says this is still a fluid process.
Due to the criteria that was developed by the state team and in accordance with the White House guidance, as of right now, I cannot give you a firm date as to when we will meet all of this criteria to begin phase 1 reopening plans. If we continue on this path, the date is on the horizon. Our behaviors and events will ultimately help determine this date. And my goal is that my team and I will be able to communicate that to the public with adequate notice so businesses and services throughout the state will have time to prepare. This is atypical. The reopening needs to be flexible because it's going to rely on data, and this is a virus. There's going to have some real-time decision-making if we see a spike in cases, and I update Nevadans along the way as we monitor our progress.
And much more news, including your Business First Brief, right after this break.
News 25 is brought to you by Star Nursery, your garden's partner for every bloomin' thing.
Welcome back. The Senate approves another stimulus package with more money for small businesses. A malaria drug is showing little benefit for COVID-19 patients, And the White House is proposing a rescue plan for the oil industry. Angela Miles has the details.
Topping our news, Congress reached a deal. More than $480 billion in stimulus money will be available. That includes money for small businesses struggling to survive during the pandemic. The deal is said to have money set aside for hospitals and for coronavirus testing. The House vote is expected this week. Some disheartening news to report. The malaria treatment the president pinned hopes on as a way to treat coronavirus so far is showing no signs of benefit. In a recent trial, the drug hydroxychloroquine was used at veterans hospitals. Testing will continue on a larger scale. As the oil market remains in turmoil, the president is calling for funding to go to the oil and gas industry. Hundreds of oil companies could go bankrupt. This week, the price of crude fell below zero. The ETF, USO, was halted repeatedly on Tuesday in trading. The problem is too much oil in the market, nowhere to store it, and very few drivers on the road.
Thanks so much, Angela. Well, the Nye County Sheriff's Office is reporting a second confirmed case of COVID-19 at the detention center. And a deputy initially reported to have COVID-19 is getting retested. Here's Brad Francis with that story.
The Nye County Sheriff's Office received confirmation of a positive COVID-19 case of a patrol deputy on Monday, but a spokesperson says they were told Tuesday morning that those results were flagged as positive by the lab in error, and the result was actually inconclusive. That employee is now scheduled to be retested. The Sheriff's Office says that deputy has been on home quarantine as a result of symptoms and has not been at work this week. In addition, the Sheriff's Office says it's now learned of a second positive case among detention center staff. The first was reported last weekend. The detention center is now running on a modified lockdown, and the Sheriff's Office says staff and inmates are wearing personal protective equipment to minimize exposure. Each cell is locked down and inmates allowed time out of their cells only with their cellmates. The day room is disinfected between each cell release. The Sheriff's Office says it is still working to develop a procedure for the testing of inmates.
Well, Nevada's patient 0 has been released from the North Las Vegas VA Medical Center after recovering from COVID-19. Brad Francis has the story.
Ronald Pipkins, Nevada's first patient to test positive for COVID-19, left the VA Medical Center to the cheers of VA's Southern Nevada Healthcare System staff on Monday. It's been nearly 2 months since Pipkins tested positive with the virus and 3 weeks since awakening from a coma. He's now been transferred to a local medical rehabilitation facility. Pipkins, a 55-year-old Marine Corps veteran, was admitted to the VA Medical Center March 2nd for pneumonia. After developing a fever, he was tested for COVID-19, and within 24 hours, his results came back as a presumptive positive. He spent much of the past month on a ventilator in a medically induced coma while battling the illness.
Well, I didn't realize I was in a coma for a very long time. It was really difficult, you know, because a lot of what was going on with me while I was in the coma was kind of still with me in my consciousness. I wasn't even aware of where I was for a very long time, even when I was conscious. But it's been an adjustment because, you know, I was fighting within my coma, and it's very deep what I was going through. And, you know, I wish no one would get this disease. This is a terrible virus because once it gets a hold to you, it really tries to take you out.
Pipkins regained consciousness in early April and received 2 consecutive negative COVID tests. Since then, he's undergone intense rehabilitation with physical and occupational therapists. While he's beat the disease, Pipkins urges Americans to not take COVID-19 lightly.
Listen to the health professionals. What's going on in society right now is killing people, and a lot of people think it won't get them, but if it gets you, you're gonna feel some very painful things happening to your body. So I say to people, put on the mask. Going to work is not as important as living. It's better to be broke and alive than to have money and dying.
Welcome home. Well, the COVID-19 pandemic has created an unprecedented national emergency, and now Las Vegas labor unions are calling for stronger protections and personal protective equipment for all frontline workers in the state. Culinary Workers Union Local 226 and Service Employees International Union Local 1107 are demanding that companies step up and do the right thing, and that local and federal government officials ensure workers are protected.
Here in Nevada, we have some of the largest healthcare corporations in the nation. We are also home to some of the largest, wealthiest, and powerful corporations in the country. We are joining together to demand that these corporations show true leadership by looking past their bottom lines and profits and do what is right for healthcare workers, casino workers, grocery store workers, delivery drivers, and more. What we are standing alongside one another today to say is that we are demanding an immediate investment in the health and safety of every worker, including continuing access to personal protective equipment and training now and in the future. Together, we can keep healthcare workers and patients, as well as all working people, safe.
We're doing what we can with what we have, but we need more. We need the support of both the community, our brothers and sisters, and the corporations to support our ability to stay alive.
This is life or death. That's what it is. If we need to build solidarity, we need to work hard to be sure these workers, we make reality all their protections in every different areas wherever they do every single day to protect all the community. We need to be sure all our unions, all the unions, we open to work with every single one to figure out to protect the people.
Well, April is Autism Awareness Month, and after this break, we're going to speak to Kim Martinez, who's going to tell us about how some of those students are doing.
This segment of the news is brought to you by Mountain West Lawyers, Nye County's injury attorneys. Don't get bullied by insurance companies. Call Jason Ernest and bully them back at 775-727-9500.
Well, the impact of canceling schools across the country is obviously disconcerting for the traditional student. But for students with disabilities, it is especially difficult. April is Autism Awareness Month, and with that, we recognize the difficulties these trying times are having on some of our most vulnerable students. Today, we meet a teenager who has autism and is struggling with the isolation, yet is using her art to remind others of the importance of social distancing. Kim Martinez has her story.
I just need a little space. The artist behind this design understands needing space in a way that goes far beyond the coronavirus. 18-year-old Danny Stevenson has always practiced a bit of social distancing as part of the struggles of having high-functioning autism. But in the last few years, this gifted artist and musician has come out of her shell thanks to the support she gets at her specialized school. And today, she's able to share her gifts with the world in a very relevant way.
The picture is just a spaceman. He's laying back. He's leaning back, so like he's just relaxing. It's kind of just something that, since you're not going to be able to see each other face to face anymore, that it's something that it's just a nice way to say hi, but also at the same time say I still need a little bit of space.
Now, quarantined at home, you might think kids with autism would be okay with the isolation that we are all experiencing, but it's actually quite upsetting for students like Danny who are attending specialized schools they've come to depend on.
Not being able to go to school, does that make you appreciate when you could go to school even more?
Yes, it does. I mean, I've always really appreciated going to school because of the strictness of the schedule.
As a senior at Gateway Academy, Danny gets to learn side by side with kids who, just like her, are considered twice exceptional.
Our definition of twice exceptional is all of our students have been diagnosed with high-functioning autism, and academically, they are capable.
Up until now, Danny has had a banner year in her young life. Her incredible artistry has even been displayed at the Jacob Javits Center in New York. It's an accomplishment she doubts she would have ever been able to achieve had she stayed in her previous school and never had the opportunity to transfer to Gateway Academy.
This school has actually made me feel like I can do anything.
Danny is proof that students with autism can have a bright future, but they need the right encouragement in the right setting.
Without being with like minds and feeling safe and heard and supported, they typically are not going to end up being the best that they can be, which is shame on us as a society.
Danny, are you struggling with your last year at Gateway being cut short?
It's very stressful because I'm very used to seeing them, the same people, every day. So not seeing them, it's kind of confusing.
But she's thankful for the priceless time she spent here discovering who she is and what she could be. Danny sees a universe of opportunities ahead. Kim Martinez reporting.
So wonderful. Thanks, Kim, for that story. Well, many parents are trying to navigate working from home while kids are also schooling from home. Dr. Kate Eshleman of Cleveland Clinic Children says while these times can be challenging, you can also provide families an opportunity to take advantage of the extra time together.
I think it's a great idea to try and reframe these experiences and look at what you can do together. Maybe playing more family game nights, watching movies together, trying to find a positive, getting outside and playing more, walking the dog together.
Dr. Eshleman admits trying to juggle work responsibilities while helping little ones with schoolwork can feel overwhelming. Some parents worry that extra time at home means kids will spend the whole day on their electronic devices. Dr. Eshleman says we want to try and keep things as normal as possible and limit screen time when we can. However, while dealing with unprecedented times, she reminds us it's okay to give ourselves a break from regular rules and be flexible.
We have our typical limits and we should try and enforce those, but it's also important to be kind to yourself. And we need to be creative about what are we going to do instead. Listening to audiobooks, cleaning out a closet, putting together old puzzles, looking through photo albums, just being creative and engaging activities that are not based on screens.
Dr. Eshleman says it's also important to recognize that it's going to take some time for everyone, parents and children, to adjust to more time at home, so patience is key.
Well, being stuck at home is leading to a lot of anxiety, and it's not just affecting adults. Many children are feeling it too, especially now with the governor's announcement that schools will not reopen this school year. Alisha Lewis is a social worker who works with ICANN Family Services and the Nye County School District. She says there are some steps you can take to lessen your level of stress and anxiety.
I definitely am seeing a rise in anxiety and stress, and a lot of the things that I'm finding out is that rise in anxiety and stress has to do with a rise of feelings of being out of control. There are so many unknown factors going on right now, so I think it's important for parents to kind of hone in on that list with their kids, and that helps for them as well. Writing down a list of the things that you're stressed about, no matter how big or small it may seem, and then taking that list and dividing it into two separate lists of what you have control over and what you don't have control over, and what we're seeing right now is that there's definitely a rise in the list of what you don't have control over. But, separating those out makes it easy for you to be able to hone in on things that you do have control over. And there really is a lot of things that you have control over. One of the biggest things is the fact that we're all spending more time at home. Well, what are you doing at home? Are you staying in your pajamas all day because that's what you want to do? And then maybe it becomes a pattern, and that pattern kind of takes you out of your normal behavior. Well, set an alarm, get up at a regular time, do your hair, do your makeup, take a shower, choose an outfit for the day. Those are all typical things that people would go through on a normal day-to-day. And even though this isn't a normal day-to-day, we do have control of putting some of those normal things back into our daily routines, and that helps a lot. It does get more difficult with the younger kids because it is harder for them to not only balance their emotions inside, but to be able to communicate them effectively. And then, the dynamics in the family all takes a a part in it as well. We've got parents that are first-time, teachers doing the homeschooling, which adds another stressful component with the kids. They're not being able to see their peers and reach out to their teachers on a normal basis, but encouraging them, to reach out. They can call their teachers, they can email their teachers, staying in contact through social media, through the phones, things like that can help lessen the stress and the anxiety of what they're missing out on. And that's true, for any age. That connectedness is what's important, not necessarily the face-to-face, but staying connected and feeling that connection. As parents, we want our kids to know that everything is going to be okay, so starting with the parents and figuring out what their stressors are and what they have control over and what they don't have control over, and then following through with the kids, but absolutely allowing them an opportunity in a safe place to express how they're feeling. It doesn't necessarily have to be something that the parents agree with them on. They may have completely different viewpoints on the situation, but they're still very legitimate feelings and legitimate thoughts that need to be out there, and that in itself helps to continue to produce that open communication between parent and child. If you feel that the stressors and anxiety are getting to a point that they are a disruption to normal functioning, that's when you want to reach out to get that appropriate professional help.
And you'll see Alisha Lewis here on Friday night from 6 to 7 p.m. We're going to have a couple more of those live We Care shows. Tomorrow night, 6 to 7 p.m. is Fire Chief Scott Lewis and Sheriff Sharon Worley. And you guys get to call in and ask questions, 727-8750. Well, it's Wednesday, and that means time to meet another great pet available for adoption from Desert Haven Animal Society.
Today's Save a Pet is proudly sponsored by Jason Ernest with Mountain West Lawyers. Call 775-727-9500.
Today we are joined with Boo Boo. Boo Boo is a dark brown adult pit bull mix. Boo Boo has white on his chest and a little bit of white on his paws. Boo Boo is very active and lots of fun. He also loves to play ball. So if you're looking for a dog like Boo Boo and you have a big yard for him to play in, he's the perfect dog for you. Come down and visit Boo Boo by giving them a call at Desert Haven Animal Society. They're on Siri Lane, right behind the Nye County Courthouse off of Basin Avenue. You can call them at 775-751-7020. You can also sponsor a dog for a family to adopt by calling that same number. Look on Desert Haven's Facebook page to find out all the animals that are available for adoption right now.
News 25 WeatherCam is brought to you by Lerner and Rowe Injury Attorney's Office in Pahrump. In a wreck, need a check? Call 702-877-1500.
All right, let's take a look outside. See what's going on with that weather cam. Beautiful windy day. We're going to find out more about our weather forecast right after this break.
News 25 weather is brought to you by Dairy Council of Nevada. The splash of cream in your coffee, the dollop of sour cream on your burrito, the melted toasty cheese on your pizza. Undeniably delicious, undeniably dairy. Enjoy what's real.
All right, today in Las Vegas, the high is 89, tonight's low 65, Death Valley 97.72, Amargosa 86.58, Beatty's high 82 with low tonight at 57, Goldfield 72.44, Tonopah 70.45, Carson City 73.47, Fallon higher up there at 77 for the high today and low tonight 46, and Fernley just a tick down at 76.47. Today here in Pahrump, the high was 84 with sunny skies, winds out of the west-northwest at 14 miles per hour, humidity 16%, and sunrise right on the dot, 6 a.m. Tonight, clear skies with your low of 60, winds out of the north-northeast at 8 miles per hour, humidity up there at 30%, and sunset 7:24. Your 7-day forecast shows some winds in our forecast going Thursday with 15-mile-per-hour winds, down on Friday to 12, and then even more less on Saturday at 11 miles per hour. Highs on Thursday, 87, low of 61. Friday, 88, 63. The clouds are coming in over the weekend just a bit. They're high on Saturday, 92, low of 65. Sunday coming down just a bit at 90, 64. And we are in the low to mid 90s for the rest of the week, with the winds coming back in on Wednesday. And we've got about your high 60s for the overnight lows through Monday and Wednesday of next week. Well, that's going to wrap up this edition of News 25. I'm Deanna O'Donnell. Have a great night. We'll see you back here tomorrow.